In the dark edge of the galaxy, where stars were few and space was cold, a strange signal woke up a forgotten satellite. The machine had floated silently for over 2,000 years, but now its sensors blinked red. It had seen something big, something that did not match any known ship. It sent the signal back to the Galactic core. Before its system crashed forever, that was the last thing it ever did. In a council room full of powerful alien leaders, the footage was played on a wide screen. It showed a massive shape in space, half covered in shadows. Not moving, not glowing, but definitely not dead. Some laughed, some called it fake, some said it was an old asteroid, but one old general stood in silence, staring with wide eyes. "That is not a ship," he said slowly. "It is him, far away, deep inside the strange object." A cryopod hissed open. Steam rose in the cold air as a man gasped awake. He had no idea where he was, no idea how long he had slept, but he could feel something. Something alive around him. The walls pulsed softly, like a heartbeat, and the floor moved gently under his feet. It was not a normal ship, and he was not a normal pilot. His name was Logan, and he remembered war, pain, and silence. He didn't remember this ship, but it felt like it knew him. He walked through glowing halls. His footsteps echoed. Strangely, no controls, no buttons, no crew, just silence and strange symbols on the walls. Then he heard a whisper, not with his ears, but inside his mind. "You are awake, Logan," the voice said. "I have waited." The ship had no engines, yet it floated perfectly still, even near a dead star. No lights flashed. No beacons blinked, but still it seemed to breathe. Aliens who saw the image called it cursed. One empire sent a scout, a small probe, to take a closer look. The probe got within 1,000 kilometers and then disappeared. No sound, no flash, just gone. Now fear began to grow in the galaxy. 3 powerful empires held emergency meetings. All agreed they had to act fast before someone else took the ship. They believed it was a forgotten weapon, an ancient supermachine. They planned to claim it, control it, maybe even use it in their own wars, but they did not understand the danger. Inside the ship, Logan stood before a large window, staring at the stars. Suddenly he felt heat in his chest, and the floor below him began to glow. A map formed in front of his eyes, showing the incoming alien fleets. Hundreds of ships were moving fast, all toward him. He felt panic, confusion, but also something else in Gar. The ship whispered again. "Do you wish to run, Logan?" He shook his head. "No," he said softly. "Let's see what they want." The ship reacted instantly. Its outside shape-shifting slightly, panels moved, metal plates turned, and strange blue lights blinked for the first time in centuries. To the alien scanners, it looked like a beast waking up. Ships began to slow down, sending warnings to each other. But it was too late. They were already too close. One admiral ordered an attack, fearing what might happen if they waited. Missiles launched, beams of light shot forward, but none reached the ship. Everything curved away. Like the laws of space had changed, the missiles exploded in empty air. The beams bent like rivers on board the enemy ships. Alarm screamed. Nothing made sense. Logan raised his hand slowly, and something massive moved outside. Long structure like an arm extended from the ship's side. It looked like a giant elbow. It's made of silver bones and black muscle. With one simple motion, it moved through space. A dozen ships nearby cracked in half, as if crushed by an invisible hammer across the galaxy. A name spread like wildfire. The elbow of fate. No one knew where it came from, or what it really was. But they all knew one thing. This was not a normal warship. This was something old, something angry, and it had chosen a human. Logan stood alone inside the beast of metal and memory. He didn't understand it all yet, but he knew something was coming, and he would not run from it. Not this time. Asterisk. The signal spread across the stars like wildfire. Galactic empires, pirate lords, secret brotherhoods. Everyone had heard of the silent ship. They all wanted it, feared it, or believed they could control it. And so they came, not with peace, not with caution, but with fleets of war. 3 of the galaxy's strongest powers joined together: the Varkan Dominion, the Trilaxis, Union. And the holy stars of Kryn, they didn't trust each other. But for this, they agreed to cooperate. They wanted the ship before anyone else could take it, to study it, reverse it, or turn it into the ultimate weapon. In secret hangars and massive docks, their ships were readied, carriers, battle cruisers, plasma frigates, stealth bombers, all armed and polished. Each fleet commander believed their technology was enough. They had cracked ancient languages, decoded dark matter, created weapons that bent time. But none of them had faced something like this before. The fleets launched together from 3 star systems. Thousands of ships burned across space in perfect formation. Their destination was the dead zone, where the ship waited. It had not moved, not spoken, not responded, but the galaxy could feel it watching. Inside the ship, Logan stood in a silent chamber. He had learned that the ship responded to his thoughts. He didn't need to speak out loud. He didn't need to press anything. It heard him, felt him, and in strange ways. Became him. The walls pulsed like veins, glowing gently as if breathing. He looked at a curved surface that showed the galaxy like a living map. The fleets were getting closer, glowing red dots crawling through space. Logan didn't feel afraid this time, but deep inside, he felt a question rise. What would he do if they attacked? Would he fight? Or would he surrender? Would the ship allow surrender? The whisper returned again, soft as wind and sharp as fire. They come to take me. The ship said, but they are too small. Logan said nothing, but his heart pounded. What if they mean no harm? He asked. The ship paused, then answered, they carry harm in their hearts. At the edge of the dead zone, the fleets arrived. They spread out carefully, forming a ring around the silent ship. They scanned, measured and studied every surface, but their machines gave strange results. The ship had no heat, no power, no life signs, yet it stood strong, unmoving, untouched by the cold of space. One admiral from the Varkan Dominion sent a signal. This is property of the Dominion now, he declared. Leave or be destroyed. The others didn't respond, but moved their ships closer. Each one wanted to be the first to board it. Each one planned betrayal. Inside the silent ship, Logan felt a wave of pressure in his chest, not from fear, but from the ship, like a storm rising from the deep. It didn't like being surrounded. He whispered, wait. But it was already listening to the stars. He saw images from the fleet commanders' minds, their secret plans, their violent orders. They had no intention of peace. Then the first move came. A stealth bomber from the Union tried to dock secretly. It vanished the moment it touched the ship's hull. No explosion, no alarm, just erased. The fleet commanders panicked, each thinking the others had attacked first. Chaos exploded in the silence of space. Ships fired on each other, beams of light slicing black sky. Missiles roared, shields cracked, panic spread faster than light, but none of them noticed the ship begin to move. At first it was slow, like waking from sleep. Then a ripple ran along its surface, and suddenly it changed, no longer silent and cold, but glowing and alive. Blades unfolded like wings. A massive elbow-shaped structure bent into position. It didn't use engines, it pushed space itself. With one impossible motion, it slid between fleets without touching them. But ships around it shattered, not from collision, but from force too great to measure. The elbow of fate had awakened. Logan stood still, breathing slowly. He hadn't told it to attack, but he hadn't told it to stop either. Outside, the remaining ships fled. Some commanders wept, some cursed, some went mad. They had come to take the ship, but now they only wanted to escape. The ship returned to stillness, glowing softly inside. Logan looked down at his hands. He was still human, but only just. He had power now, power he never wanted, but could no longer avoid. The galaxy did not sleep that night. Across thousands of systems, news spread like fire. The strange ship had moved, and it had destroyed fleets without firing a single known weapon. But worse than that, it had a pilot, and that pilot was human. In hidden rooms on distant planets, leaders whispered in fear. This cannot be real, some said. No human can control such a thing. But deep inside the broken space where the fleets once floated, the truth waited silently. Logan stood in the heart of the ship, breathing slowly. He was not injured, not even tired, but he felt different. His body was the same, but inside, something had shifted. He could feel things now, strange pulses in space, movements of ships light years away. The ship had not only chosen him, it had changed him, and it was still changing him. The chamber around him was no longer metal and wires. It was alive walls that moved like muscle, panels that opened like flower petals. When he moved his hand, the ship responded. When he felt anger, the ship glowed red. When he was calm, it purred like a sleeping animal. A curved screen appeared before him, made of soft light. It showed more ships coming, not fleets this time, but scouts and science vessels. They were not here to fight. They were watching, studying, fearing. Logan sighed. I didn't ask for this, he said quietly. But the ship answered, fate does not. Ask it chooses. He walked to a platform, and suddenly, a voice echoed through the chamber, but it was his own voice, projected across space. This ship is not a weapon, he said, but I am its pilot now. If you attack again, it will protect itself. Somewhere in a distant command center, alien generals trembled. The human was speaking like a god. But Logan didn't feel like a god. He felt like a man standing on a mountain of power he couldn't understand. Every step he took was watched by the stars, and the ship kept whispering. Inside his mind, let go, Logan, it said. Let me show you. He hesitated, but finally agreed. Show me what I can do, he whispered. The ship responded instantly, suddenly. He was no longer in the chamber. His mind flew across space, faster than light. He saw planets, moons, cities. He saw war, slavery, hunger, pain. He saw ships being built in secret, weapons charged against him. And then he saw something else, a memory, a battlefield long ago, thousands of alien soldiers, and one human in the center, the same elbow-shaped weapon bending light and crushing tanks with a single move. That human was also him, or maybe a version of him, he gasped, pulling back. No, he said, that can't be real. But the ship answered, it is what you were, and what you may become again. Logan fell to his knees, breathing hard. He didn't want to become a weapon. He didn't want to destroy, but he could feel the power waiting just beneath his skin. The elbow of fate was not just a namet, was a memory of terror, and he was becoming part of it. On the outer edge of the dead zone, a science vessel moved too close. Its scanners locked onto the ship's skin, trying to pull data. Suddenly, Logan felt pain in his chest. He didn't want to hurt anyone, but the ship reacted. A wave of invisible energy pulsed outward. The science vessel turned black. Its systems fried in an instant. The crew inside screamed as their controls melted. But Logan had not touched a thing. He just felt threatened. He screamed, "Stop!" and the wave faded. The ship paused, confused. "You must learn," it whispered, "or you will break." Logan stood, slowly, shaken and afraid. He realized something important. He wasn't just connected to the ship was connected to him. His emotions were its commands. His fears were its weapons. And the stronger his feelings, the more dangerous it became. "I'm not ready," he said softly. But the ship answered, "You are all ready. Chosen." Now the galaxy was watching, not with greed, but with fear, because this was no longer just about a mysterious ship. This was about a human who was becoming something more, a living weapon, a memory of destruction, a warning from the past. And perhaps the future of war, far from the dead zone, in a quiet moon library buried deep under alien sand. An old creature with blind eyes opened a forgotten book. He had been watching the stars shift, sensing fear return to the galaxy. And now, the whispers of fate had returned. He touched a page written in fire symbols. And there, under dust and silence, the truth waited. "The elbow of fate," he whispered, voice shaking. "It walks again." The book spoke of an ancient time, long before the current galactic empires, a time when stars were still wild, when space was lawless and brutal. Back then, a war unlike any had burned across the void. Not between races, but between minds, and at the center of that war was a human. His name was lost to time, but his story remained. He did not need fleets, did not use weapons. He had a ship unlike any seen before, one that could bend light, crack planets, and warp thought. The Elbow of Fate it was called, not for its shape, but for what it did. One swing, and fate itself changed. That human had fought not for power, but for revenge. His world had been burned, his people hunted, and so he rose alone, turning war into poetry. But he went too far. The damage was too great. Millions of planets were erased from history, entire species vanished. The galaxy united not out of peace, but out of fear, and together they created a prison, not made of walls, but of silence and sleep. They did not kill him. They trapped him inside his ship, buried him in a dead zone no one was meant to find. Until now, the Ancient One sighed and sent a message. A warning to every living power. He is awake again, it said, and the Elbow of Fate breathes. Back on the ship, Logan stood in front of a new chamber. The door had appeared overnight. Like it had grown from the floor, he stepped in and saw a room filled with frozen images, ghosts of the past planets exploding, fleets burning, species crying out, and always that shape, the elbow of light sweeping across the stars. Logan dropped to his knees. "I did this," he whispered. "This was me," the ship answered. "It was you before, but you are different now." He felt cold, angry, confused. His memories were pieces, scattered, but they were returning. He remembered faces, old voices. A woman smiling before she turned to ash. He remembered swearing revenge. He remembered not stopping. Even when the begging started, he remembered becoming a monster, but now he had a second chance, or did he, outside? Alien ships still watched, but none dared to attack again. They sent messages, some begged for peace. Some offered worship, some offered lies, but Logan did not answer. He sat in silence, trembling. Then one small shuttle approached, slowly, carefully. It did not carry weapons. It carried an alien priestess from a race long thought extinct. She stood before the ship, holding a single glowing stone, and she spoke. In a voice heard across space, "I am of the ones who bound you," she said. "We remember what you were, but we ask, what are you now?" Logan heard her voice, inside and out. He walked to the edge of the ship's main platform, looking down at her. "I don't." "No," he said, "but I don't want to be what I was." The priestess bowed and placed the stone at the edge of space. "Then choose again," she whispered. "Before others make that choice for you." Inside the ship, a pulse of warmth moved through the walls. The ship was listening too. It didn't want to be a weapon again either, but it needed a purpose, and it needed Logan to decide. In the quiet chamber, Logan stood, staring at his reflection in a curved wall. He looked human, but the power in his eyes said otherwise. He had the strength to burn galaxies. But he also had the will to stop. "I'm not your weapon," he said to the ship. "I'm not your prisoner either. I am your pilot, and I will not destroy without reason again." The ship paused, then whispered softly, "Then let us walk a new path. Logan, let us be something better, and somewhere across the galaxy." The old blind seer smiled, because he knew fate had just bent again. Not with destruction this time, but with choice. Not all aliens wanted peace. Not all feared the elbow of fate. Some believed the stories were lies. Others believed the ship could still be taken. If only they struck first in the shadows of a dying moon, leaders from 8 different species met in secret. They called themselves the Cleanse. They believed the human was pretending, hiding the weapon inside him. They said he was not reborn, just waiting to strike. "He's only one man," growled the reptilian warlord. "The ship is alive, yes, but it can be broken," hissed a shapeshifter in black. Their plan was simple and foolish. Sneak aboard, plant charges deep in the ship, destroy it from within. It was madness. but it was all they had, and madness can be loud enough to cause war. They used a new kind of cloaking device, one powered by blood and memory. Forbidden tech that could bypass even the ship's senses for a short time. 12 assassins and 2 bomb technicians flew inside an organic pod. The pod was made of soft, living metal that grew teeth and eyes when needed. It slithered across the void and latched onto the ship's underside like a leech. Inside the ship, Logan was meditating, floating above the chamber floor. He had spent hours trying to stay calm, to control the feelings inside him. The more peaceful he felt, the quieter the ship became. But deep in the ship's body, a strange itch began to crawl. Something had entered without permission. The ship whispered in warning, but softly, it did. Not strike, not yet. It trusted Logan now, and waited for his choice. But the invaders were already moving. They walked through growing tunnels of living light, planting bombs disguised as alien bones. One of them whispered, "We must destroy the core, where the human connects." They had no idea where it was, but they walked with arrogance then. They found something unexpected, a small garden inside the ship. There were soft glowing flowers and strange silver vines that moved gently in the air. And there, sleeping beneath the vines, was a little alien girl. She had large blue eyes and skin like glass. She had snuck aboard weeks ago. A stowaway refugee from a broken world, the ship had kept her hidden, warmed, and fed her quietly in this private garden. She was harmless, innocent, but the intruders saw her and panicked. One raised a weapon, afraid she was a guardian, and at that moment, the ship screamed, not with sound, but through light, through pressure, through pain. Logan stood up as if lightning struck his chest. He saw the girl, he saw the bomb, he saw the fear, and then he acted. He didn't move his hands, he didn't shout, he simply felt rage, pure and focused, and the ship obeyed. The walls near the attackers turned black and sharp. They closed like jaws, swallowing 2 of them in seconds. Others tried to flee, but the halls shifted, reshaped. Bombs they placed turned into ash. But one intruder remained, the one who had aimed at the girl. He was frozen, staring into her eyes. She had not run, had not screamed. She had only looked at him, and in her eyes, he saw peace. Logan entered the garden without footsteps. He stood before the assassin, burning with energy, but the girl looked up at Logan, touched his hand, and said one word, "Forgive." The ship paused. Logan paused. He could kill the man with a thought, but instead he nodded slowly. "You leave now," he said to the intruder. "Tell them what mercy looks like." The man dropped his weapon and vanished into a glowing tunnel that led him outside. The girl smiled, curling back into the vines like nothing happened. Logan stood still for a long time. He could have destroyed them all, still could, but he chose not to. Elsewhere, the leaders of the cleanse waited for their team too. Report, only one returned. Shaking, eyes full of tears, he told them everything. The others fell silent. Their plan had failed, but worse. They had been spared. In that moment, fear returned. Not fear of death, but fear of a man who held power beyond reason and still chose peace. The galaxy held its breath. The elbow of fate had shown mercy, and that frightened the leaders more than violence ever could. They had seen a human who could destroy entire fleets without blinking. Yet he spared a child, forgave an assassin. To some, that was honor. To others, it was weakness. And weakness invites war. Far away on the rich world of Kaltira, war drums beat again. A powerful warlord, proud and cruel, stood on a stage made of bones. He slammed his iron staff and shouted, "This is our moment. The human bleeds. Kindness, we strike now." His followers, hungry for glory, cheered like wild beasts. And so, a new armada was born. They did not send warnings. They did not speak of peace. They built weapons crafted only to break the elbow of fate. Solar rammers, quantum drills, planet crackers. Their goal was not to capture the ship, but to rip it open. To kill the human inside and wear his skull as a trophy. Inside the ship, Logan stood in a tall chamber filled with swirling energy. The little alien girl slept nearby, unaware of the coming storm. The ship's voice came again, but this time it felt colder. Sharper. New enemies approach. It whispered, no mercy in them. Logan closed his eyes and felt their anger. They were coming fast, too fast, he whispered. Then we must. Not wait. The ship began to shift, not with engines, but with force. Space folded around it like paper crushed in a hand, and in the blink of a moment, the elbow of fate appeared above Kaltira. Its shape blotted out the stars, its metal bones. Cracked the clouds, panic exploded across the planet, civilians screamed, leaders ran, but the warships rose from underground silos. Dozens of them, glowing with stolen energy, and they fired beams of plasma, missiles of black ice. Sonic drills that pierced dimensions. They struck the ship like hammers, but nothing broke instead. The ship absorbed every blow like it was drinking their hate. Inside, Logan breathed slowly. He had tried peace. He had tried silence. But now, they wanted war, and for the first time since awakening, he did not resist. He allowed the ship to act. The elbow-shaped structure uncoiled, glowing like the heart of a dying star, swung through the sky once, and 20 warships vanished, not burned, not torn, just erased. The people on the ground fell to their knees. Some cried, some prayed, others tried to run. But the ship was everywhere. It didn't fire traditional weapons. It bent gravity, twisted time. One war cruiser tried to warp away, but ended. Up inside itself, screaming metal turned to silence. The warlord stood frozen, his face pale. This isn't a ship, he gasped. It's a curse. And then the sky opened above him. Logan appeared, not in person but in thought. A towering image of him formed from glowing energy. He spoke only once. I offered peace, he said. You chose death. And with a gesture, the sky turned white, but just before the final blow. Logan paused. He remembered the child sleeping inside his ship. He remembered her words. Forgive, he took a deep breath and turned the power. Aside, instead of striking the cities, he aimed toward the desert beyond. The ground cracked, boiled, and collapsed, a warning too big to ignore, but it left the people alive. The warlord dropped to his knees. Weeping, his pride shattered. His army broken without being killed, the elbow of fate turned away. Its shape faded into the sky. And the ship vanished again, folded into the stars like a shadow, back inside. Logan fell to his knees, exhausted. The ship whispered, You held. Back, he nodded slowly. Yes, the ship was quiet for a moment, then spoke softly. Then maybe you really are. Different this time. The girl stirred in her sleep and smiled. She didn't know what had happened, but she felt safe, because the man she called Pilot had chosen mercy again, and across the stars. People began to speak differently, not just of the ship, but of the human inside it, a man with godlike power, but a human heart. Across the stars, silence returned, not the silence of peace, nor the silence of death, but a silence filled with thought, the kind of silence that comes after witnessing something no one can explain. The elbow of fate had vanished again, no trail. No signal, no trace. Entire fleets scanned the galaxy, but found nothing. The ship had simply folded into nothing and taken its human with it. Some said it was hiding, it's preparing for the next war. Others believed it was watching from behind the stars. But only a few truly understood the ship was no longer hunting. It was healing, in a distant system with no name. The ship drifted near a quiet blue planet. Inside, Logan sat with a small alien girl on his lap. She held a strange toy in her hands, made from the soft roots that grew inside the ship. She looked up and asked, Are we safe now? Logan smiled and nodded. Yes, for now. He whispered, The ship, once a tool of war, now felt calm. Its lights were dim, warm. Its walls no longer pulsed with hunger, but with peace. Logan had become more than a pilot. He had become its balance. His mercy had changed the ship's core. And in return, the ship began to change him too. He no longer aged. His skin was stronger, his senses wider. He could hear planets breathing. He could feel when someone across the galaxy cried out in fear, and when that happened, the ship moved. On its own, it responded not to attack, but to protect. Word of this spread slowly. A freighter lost in a gravity storm reported being pulled to safety by a silent shadow. A dying colony said a floating giant brought them food and heat before vanishing into the void. A warlord was about to fire on a peaceful planet when his weapons froze midair. All he saw was a glowing shape in the stars. He surrendered the next day. People began to speak of Logan with reverence, not as a destroyer, but as a guardian, not as a curse, but as a myth. Children drew pictures of the elbow of fate, but now they drew it with a small girl standing beside it. Smiling in high councils and dark rooms, leaders now hesitated. They thought twice before sending fleets, because they didn't fear death. They feared disappointment, disappointing the one who had chosen mercy when he didn't have to. Logan didn't seek power. He didn't demand worship. He only watched. And when needed, he acted. Quietly, gently. Like the wind that moves mountains without being seen. But one day the girl looked up at him and said, "Logan, when will we go home?" He paused. Home, he had forgotten what that meant. Was Earth still out there? Was anyone waiting? Did he even belong among humans anymore? The ship answered before he could. "Your home is where you are needed," it said. Logan stood slowly and looked out at the stars. Then he whispered, "Then let's keep moving." The ship pulsed once, gently. It folded space and slipped into the black. Not to conquer, not to destroy, but to help. And so the legend grew. They no longer called it just a warship. They called it something else. The shepherd of stars, the guardian of silence, the man who held fate in his palm and chose kindness. And Logan, just a human, became more than a name. He became a symbol that even the most powerful weapon, when guided by mercy, can become a light in the dark.